Good evening, all my fellow colleagues, project managers, project personnel everywhere. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Today, we're going to be addressing the current state of affairs in project management. We're going to be talking about the latest and greatest things you need to know about. We're also going to be focusing on topics that you folks who have just gotten certified or who have been certified for a while, from whichever certification, will be quite interested in. So let's jump straight into our agenda for today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about what project management is at a very high level, and then we're going to explore modern project management. I've put this in four big buckets that you need to be aware of. Number one is AI infused future of project management. Secondly, we have hybrid approaches and value driven delivery. Then we have the people factor, skills, teams, and well being. And then we'll be moving on to talk about projects with purpose, ESG, strategy, and sustainability. So, first and foremost, let me say congrats to every single one of you who has recently achieved some sort of certification in the world of project management, whether from PMI or some other body or in the world of Agile. Congrats to you. I hope you are excited as I am about your success. And it is just the beginning. There's a lot ahead, lots of great things ahead. And I hope that as you journey through project management, you will continue to be hungry, learning every step of the way. So let's jump into the AI infused future of project management. Artificial intelligence, my friends, is rapidly transforming project management by automating routine tasks, by providing predictive insights, and raising important ethical considerations. In this section, I'm going to be talking about how AI is reshaping the profession. AI is reshaping the profession in that a lot of things the project manager wanted to do on projects and found quite laborious and time consuming, such as very thorough scheduling and cost and scoping, they're now able to employ the use of artificial intelligence to do it. It's as simple as opening up a GPT or a Gemini or a Claude and asking it questions about whatever data you've got, whether the data is in Excel, whether it's in Word, whatever the format, you can be sure that AI will have answers. It will show you correlations that you never even knew imagined as far as schedule, cost, and scope are concerned. So, for those of you who have been dabbling into the world of AI, I'll say keep going full steam ahead, keep learning. You need to see AI, though, as a co pilot. Some people may make the mistake of thinking AI is going to take their job, but I'm here to tell you that is not the case. AI will help you with automated report generation. It will help you by managing schedules, optimizing resource allocation, reducing manual efforts, and increasing accuracy for project managers. If you do not feel comfortable in using AI to do these things for you, then you need to get on the wagon, my friend, and learn how to leverage AI for report generation, for schedule management, for resource allocation and optimization. I have shown on previous episodes how it's as simple as opening Gemini or Claude and asking the right question, prompting in the right way, but also providing context because you don't want AI to hallucinate. So you got to provide the context. And this is what project managers need to get really good in. AI can also help you with AI driven forecasting. There's AI analytics to help project managers anticipate potential risks. Merely sharing your project charter with artificial intelligence will put you ahead of the curve because there are things that AI is going to see in your project charter right off the bat and tell you this is a risk. This is a high level risk. This is a low level risk. This is an overall project risk, and so on. Also, when it comes to budget overrun prediction, depending on your organization, if your organization has given you the leeway to use artificial intelligence to manage projects, or as one of my mentees said, they've given us our own GPT in the firm, well, if that's you, you need to be using these tools. Remember, PMI also has their own GPT like tool, which many organizations are feeling more comfortable with. So you can use that for budget overrun prediction and schedule delay forecasting. honestly, you do not need a fancy tool from Microsoft or somewhere else. It's as simple as using GPT to do a lot of your querying, but you got to put in superior prompts. Now, when it comes to ethics and data quality, navigating the bias and responsible use, you as a project manager, you have a responsibility to implement responsible AI practices. It's going to foster trust and ethical integrity. And if your organization is one of the few that says, we're not allowed to do this here, don't do it, don't do it, right? One of the things I love about AI is it has helped me address data biases. So if you collect a pool of data, AI can help you analyze the data, identify biases, and give you the logic and the reasoning as to why certain sets of the data do not make sense. And it's an opportunity for you to dig deeper and identify where the bias is, where doesn't it make sense. So mitigating biases in data, it's essential for fairness and accuracy in AI driven decisions. And you as a project manager, you should know how to do that. It's as simple as taking the data, feeding it, and asking the right questions as far as the data is concerned. Let's move on to hybrid approaches and value driven delivery. This is a hot topic for those of you who have recently gotten certified in the world of PMI. It is very important for you to understand how to hybridize your approach on the project. I see our friend NC Worker as usual, always showing up for these meetings. Thank you, NC Worker. Hybrid approaches are all about combining your world of agile, your world of predictability, finding a medium. At some points, it could be a 90-10 in favor of agile. Other times, it could be a 10-90 in favor of predictive. Other times, it could be a 50-50. Modern project management has begun to embrace blended methodologies more than ever before, focusing on delivering real business value. I have a mentee of mine who switched quicker than you could blink between predictive and agile, and then a hybrid of both. So this has become the new normal for us in the world of project management. Now, beyond framework fatigue, it is important for us to be able to do that because hybrid project teams today are blending the world of agile and predictive, some people would say waterfall, to create hybrid frameworks tailored specifically to their project needs. So, as a PMP, CAPM, or experienced project manager, you should be combining elements from agile, elements from predictive, and customizing frameworks to tailor approaches. Gone are the days of a one size fits all. This is the latest and greatest happening in the world of project management. Another big one that the PMI has emphasized as far back as PMBOK 7 is outcome over output, focusing on business value delivered. You know, back in the day, we would talk about finishing the tasks and getting the deliverable and handing over to the client. And that's okay. But the world of project management today has shifted away from focusing simply on completing tasks and delivering a deliverable to achieving meaningful business outcomes. Now, the PMI, they'll tell you that value is the net quantifiable benefit that a user realizes from a product, service, or result. You could also say, in some way, qualitatively or quantitatively, assess the benefits. And that will give you an idea of value. It's the net of all those things. So the shift has gone from emphasizing just the output to now emphasizing outcome over output. And this is talked about in PMBOK Guide 7th edition. That is one of the emerging topics that project managers should be aware of today. Now, delivering measurable value ensures the project's impact stakeholders positively. So as opposed to you just saying, I'm the PM, I'm going to hand it over to someone else, and I really don't care about the end of the story. No, we now have a sensitivity to the end of the story. We want to realize the benefits, the value, the ultimate outcome. So when you deliver a deliverable, what was the purpose? Was it to increase efficiency? Was it to move the organization from a point A to a point B? Those are the questions you need to ask as a professional because today it's not enough to just deliver the deliverable. You must be thinking, Who is the benefits owner? Do I have a benefits management plan or benefits register? These things are echoing louder than ever before. A lot of PMs would read it in a PMBOK guide and not really care. But I'm very happy that we're now becoming sensitized to the concept of value delivery. Now, that takes us into the world of Agile, the Agile mindset. Agile mindset in a lot of organizations is beginning to take root. And I'm happy about that because you don't have to label yourself as we're a Scrum shop before you are Agile. You could be Agile in your thinking. Remember, the Agile manifesto always talks about valuing individuals and interactions first over everything else. Processes, tools, outcome. It starts with the people. So, why do we get so hyper excited? Those of us who do anyway. Why do we get so hyper excited about the world of Agile? Because the mindset encourages adaptability. It allows teams to respond quickly to change across various industries. You're able to pivot. The great Mike Tyson, he said, everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face. When someone's punched on the face, they're on the canvas looking up. It's too late. You should have thought of pivoting and you should have thought about developing the ability to pivot. A lot of firms have gone under because they're not agile, and we could name so many of them. The likes of Kodak, they're still struggling for their life. They're on life support somewhat. Then we have other firms that have been outrightly replaced, like Polaroid, like Circuit City. And you ask why? It's because of a lack of pivoting. Toys R Us, it's a lack of the ability to pivot. TM Lewin, those of you who know that manufacturer out of the UK, it's as a result of the lack of pivoting in tough times. So, beyond just using Agile for your projects, you got to be agile at the organizational level. Something else that Agile does for us is it highlights collaboration, the individuals and interactions over processes and tools, and understanding that we need to work daily with the customer. We need to work daily with our stakeholders. Agile also drives innovation. By embracing agility, organizations boost innovation and improve responsiveness. To be agile, four things that you need to be thinking of. And this is all from the Agile Manifesto. It says, through this work, we've come to value number one, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Number two, work in product. Value that over comprehensive documentation. And documentation is important, but it's not more important than your working product. Now, if your working product is a document itself, then use common sense, right? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Value customer collaboration over contract negotiation, because if you are in a collaborative mindset, the negotiation is going to go better. And then responding to change, value that over following a plan. And we're not discrediting any of these things. We're just saying value. Like as a human, you value water over food. As a business person, there's certain things you should be valuing over the other. So the world of Agile hasn't gone away, is still bigger than ever in this world. Let's move on to the people factor, skills, teams, and well being. This is bigger than life, larger than ever. You see, the success of projects, it depends heavily on people, primarily, not on AI, as a lot of the alarmists are telling you. Well, AI is going to replace you. No, 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 no. It's not going to replace you. This is where the people factor comes in: skills, team, and well-being. Right. So here we're going to address the critical interpersonal skills, effective team dynamics, and fostering well-being in modern work environments. So power skills, as PMI calls them, are in demand. I like to just call them soft skills or leadership oriented skills. But when you're sending your PDUs, we call it power skills. So we have emotional intelligence, EI, the ability to negotiate, the ability to understand when to push and when to back off. There are times when you've already got what you're looking for, just back away as a project manager, right? Understanding the negotiation dynamics. Emotional intelligence is two things. Number one, Being able to bridle your emotions. As a leader, it is so important that you can bridle your emotions and that you can positively influence the emotions of others. This is worth more than a ton of Gantt charts. Trust me. Just having that skill. EI over AI. AI is great, but have EI first, right? And then build on that with AI. Negotiation skills, the ability to negotiate, to know what is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement, going in with intentionality, knowing what you're looking for, and not trying to strong arm the other person, right? It's all about satisfaction. This is so critical for success in project management today. And then leadership abilities, just having courage, just hey, just being excited. Have you ever seen a non-excited PM try to lead and motivate a team? It's a disaster. So we need to be excited about what we're working on. If it's healthcare, if it's engineering, if you're working on government stuff. I was once stopped by a cop. He said I was going too fast. Maybe I was, but I told him I'm heading over to Honeywell, where we build stuff for the government. I was able to connect with him on common ground. But jokes apart, you always need to get inspired. I was fired up working at Honeywell. We're doing stuff for a greater cause. And it's important as a PM, you show your people you are a visionary, showing them the greater good of this project that you're working on. It's not just, I'm working for a paycheck. No, I'm working for a greater good. I'm working to help people feel better. I'm working on the breakthroughs in autism or cancer. I'm working on something that will be good for the environment. I'm working to make life better for the less privileged. You get what I'm saying? So your leadership abilities as a PM, this is where you can show your worth. Because when people hire PMs, trust me when I tell you, it's not the Gantt chart. Gantt charts are good. I love them. I'm certified in all that stuff. I'm an MCTS, right? I'm a junkie when it comes to WBS creation. I do that for a living, but I'll tell you that no WBS or Gantt chart trumps leadership. As the great John Maxwell, my mentor, would say, everything rises and falls on leadership. So it excited me when PMI began throwing in leadership as one of the PDU prongs. Leadership abilities, effective leadership that will guide your team through challenges. Okay. Now let's talk about remote and hybrid teams. Do you work for a hybrid team or work on a hybrid team? I'm telling you, building trust and engagement across boundaries, this is so important because these days you get people working 2 or 3 days from home, and there has to be that trust. There has to be that engagement. Managing dispersed teams requires intentional strategies to build trust, to maintain engagement, to ensure that the tools that are needed for the virtual engagement is there, and to ensure seamless collaboration regardless of location. So if you are a project manager working with a globally dispersed team, it is your responsibility to get that engagement from the virtual team. Building trust remotely, how do you do that without being a micromanager? Ah, well, these are things you can actually use your EI to uphold, and always bounce your EI off the AI. You get what I'm saying? It's okay to do that. Don't feel like you're a fraud bouncing your idea off the AI. The problem comes when the AI becomes the gospel truth and you have no say. That's where the problem is. So maintaining team engagement, regular check-ins, making it a safe space, this is so important. And then seamless collaboration. We got to use these digital communication tools for smooth workflow. Whether you're using Teams or you're using Google, some companies still use Google to do all their meetings and stuff. And it's okay. Just make sure whatever you use is working for you. Now, when it comes to mental health and burnout, I cannot tell you how critical this has become. It's like we survivors of COVID, we are more attuned and more susceptible as well to the concept of mental health and burnout. See, so we as project managers, we need to lead the charge. We need to promote mental health. In fact, in the PMP exam, did you know that the PMI has a task that you need to lead with emotional intelligence? It's there. So you need to be aware of when your team members might be facing a very tough time or burnout. And you need to prevent burnout through sustainable workloads. This is what I like about the world of Agile. One of the principles says that the team should have a sustainable pace indefinitely. And what that means is not taking on 100, 200 hours worth of work every week, but instead realizing that people need to live, people need to breathe. You need to lead that charge as a PMP, as a CAPM, as a PM, right? As a scrum master, as a product owner, as a business leader, as a CEO, as a CIO. You need to be the sound of the alarm saying, hey, team, yeah, we want to get the work done, but not at the detriment of your health. The other big one that is, this is a sad one because I've seen it play out in many firms, and I'm talking about psychological safety. When the team shuts up because they don't feel safe around management, that's that's not good. So as leaders, we need to create an environment of psychological safety so that we can foster open communication and reduce stress. You know, John Maxwell says, don't shoot the messenger. You bring me a bad message, bam. No, don't do that. Don't shoot the messenger. Allow the messenger to tell his or her truth about how they see things, right? Bill Gates had this open policy where you could make him know anything going on around you and he would take action. That's why we have Edge today. Internet Explorer probably would have died if the guy who said, you need to see what's happening at Cornell University, they're using technology differently. You see, there needs to be a don't shoot the messenger policy. And then when it comes to team resilience, as a result of the mental health being understood, giving people, just cutting them some slack. People are humans. They need to understand that you appreciate them, that you are grateful for the work they put in. You know, Victor Vroom, he says, people remain productive and they put in good work because they expect to be rewarded. Expectancy theory, right? So these are things that you as a project manager need to be hyper aware of in today's world. Now, when it comes to this world of environmental, social, and governance, you as the PM, you need to be all up in the business of all three prongs. You need to understand the environment that you're in. And when I talk about environmental, I'm talking about green energy, I'm talking about being aware of the geopolitical landscape, social, and governance. This is more important than ever before for the project manager. Okay, let's break it down a little bit more. Embedding ESG principles into every phase of project management promotes responsible practices that support long term organizational goals and societal impact. As a PM, be more aware. I want to invite you to look at the PMI's webinar portal. For those of you who have not, go to projectmanagement.com and look at the webinars that PMI has put out there for you. Because by the time you're done with some of these webinars, you'll be more aware of how to incorporate environmental, social, and governance principles. Sometimes it's a discussion you have at the beginning of the project. And you, as the project manager, as the PMP, you got to be embedding ESG in project phases. You don't necessarily have to be working in construction or energy before this is of importance to you. This is where the world is headed, right? ESG driven projects contribute positively to our society. So, as a PM, you should be aware of all this stuff. Green project management is big, leveraging sustainability for competitive advantage. Be aware of what other companies in your space are doing, leaders in your space. Green project management focuses on minimizing ecological footprints through sustainable resource use and waste reduction. And it helps distinguish you from other players in the game. It helps you stand out in eco conscious markets. So if you're in the area of oil and gas and energy more than anyone else, of course, you need to be all up in this business, but not just those industries, every industry, even medical, healthcare, whatever it is. You always want to be looking for opportunities in this regard. Now, let's move on to the topic of the PMO. Newsflash. What is a PMO? PMO stands for Project Management Office. Some people call it Project Office. Some people call it program office or portfolio office. Now, this used to be a staple model in a lot of firms, but the news flash is this: the PMO is morphing and changing direction in a lot of firms. I know this not just by reading a book, but by practicing in the field and seeing what a lot of my clients are gravitating towards. They're gravitating towards other models like a project management center of excellence. You get what I'm saying? Or a value delivery office. They are now looking at a PMO as being a little bit heavy handed in the eyes of many. I'm not saying that means a PMO is heavy handed. I'm just saying that unfortunately, in the early 2000s, PMOs got a bad rap because they were truly doing bad, whacking people over the head, tracking people down, and shaming them. And while it is important to manage organizational dollars, the way to encourage community and excellence is not by carrot and sticks. I'm not saying all PMOs are like this, but this is the rap that they have in a lot of firms. And honestly, I was training once in one of Warren Buffett's companies up in Georgia, and they said, Phil, let's not mention that word. Let's not say PMO because we tried it before and it didn't go down well. So we are not using the word PMO. We're going to try to do things more communally. And that's where we are today. This was like 10, 15 years ago, but today it's even a bigger noise. Let's not use PMO. Let's use a project management center of excellence or a community of practice, a COP. All right. So when we talk about PMOs, there are a lot of organizations that have executive PMOs. And if you don't have one of those, maybe you should consider having one. Because at different levels in the firm, there need to be a different type of PMO. You can't say a PMO is controlling or it's directive only. There has to be a morphing and adaptation at different levels in the firm and for different types of projects. So for very basic small projects, maybe what you have is a supportive PMO. But as the stakes go higher, you have to begin managing differently. Okay. And as the organization evolves, you must have a community of practice. Is in my mind, it's not even a maybe. No, every firm, I don't care whether you got PMOs at different levels, you need a community of practice. You need at least a discussion, a forum, so that your PMs can grow and expand. A lot of PMs, they get PMP certified and they go back to their organization. There's no support, there's no dialogue. So I'm giving you the charge as a project manager. Why don't you begin a community of practice? Have monthly touch points where you share the most pertinent lessons learned across the firm. I'm giving you a charge to start that. I started something similar at Honeywell. It wasn't a center of excellence, but it was a community of development to help those who were failing the PMP exam. It doesn't take too much to do. Bring a couple of pizzas, depending on your team, five, six pizzas, get executive support, and begin to lead. Begin to lead a community of practice. Yes, there are PMOs, I understand. So we have different reasons why we have project management offices. Strategic PMOs drive innovation by encouraging creative solutions. We have PMOs providing critical advice and insights to leadership for informed decision making. And then we also have PMOs ensuring that projects align with sustainability and business objectives. And I've seen this role being played not only by a traditional PMO, but also a community of practice or center of excellence. All right. So nothing should prevent you from executing. You know, one of the things I hear from a lot of PMPs, classic, Phil, I'm certified. Okay. They don't practice PMP in my firm. What are you doing as a leader? And they're like a day in the headlights. So I'm giving you the charge today. Begin to lead. It didn't say project manager in waiting, did it? It says project management professional. You got to be a pro. A pro is not asking where to go because a pro knows. You are the person leading the charge, not, oh, my boss didn't let me. My boss didn't give me the templates. You create the templates. You get what I'm saying? Because I hear that a lot with my new PMPs. They're scared of moving. Don't be scared. You have the power to do that. You're a PMP. You got the stamp of approval from PMI. So, in conclusion, embracing change to lead in modern project management, you got to be adaptable to technology. You got to combine the world of agile, hybrid, predictive. It could be a goulash sometimes, but don't be afraid of experimenting. You see, this is why I say go read up the Scrum Guide, because Scrum is just a series of experiments. Don't be afraid of experimenting. That's how you get your empiricism. That's how you use what happened, what failed, or what worked. You put it back into the mix, you're going to get better. Thirdly, people centric leadership tops everything else. I know technology is great, I know methodologies are great, but if you don't have the right leadership, everything else is dead in the water. Purposeful projects, you got to align projects with meaningful goals. Okay, now let's talk about the state of affairs of project management in the world of certifications. Ah, well, this is one that a lot of people will like to hear. If I was going to tell you my top three project management certifications, I'm curious, what do you think they are? Chat them into me. What are the top three? My friends on Instagram, I see you there. Thank you for coming through. My friends on YouTube, thank you for coming through. Chat into me. What are your top three PM certs? Do you have an opinion about that? Well, I'm not biased, even though I'm one of them. But number one is PMP. It has continued to resound as the dominant certification in the world of project management. That's number one. Number two in the world, which, if you wanted to say, is extremely visible these days, it will be CAPM. It's becoming more and more visible. And thirdly is Prince 2, very highly visible in the United Kingdom and a few other countries. But when you talk about the number one global leader for project management in terms of a certification, it has to be the PMP. Now, when you talk about the leader in the world of Agile, chat into me. What are the top three Agile certifications in the world if you're going to give them in order? So, the most known Agile certification in the world, based on my research, is a certified Scrum Master. The next one behind that, that is highly regarded, it is considered to be street cred. If you're truly a boss, you should be able to kill this thing. If you can't, you're small fry. It's PSM, Professional Scrum Master by Ken Schwaber. It's become very popular, very far reaching, and you don't necessarily have to, take a proctored, strict people looking at you on a camera kind of exam. No, they give you the questions, and it's up to you to be ethical and take it the right way. But a lot of people fail it. A lot of people fail PSM. But a lot of my mentees have taken it and passed it because they've learned the basics, the mindset, and then on top of that, they've learned the mindset for Scrum as well. So it's the CSM, the PSM, and if I was going to give a third one that is becoming more and more popular as the days go on, it would have to be the ACP because PMI have stepped up their game in making it more prominent. So those three. Now I could go on talking about anything in the Scrum Alliance suite, the product CSPO, and all the others. But I don't want to go down that road of talking too many certs. But if you are looking to get one, and depending on what your goal is, if you want a job and you had to choose between those three, it would be CSM because that's on all the job boards. Majority of the job boards are looking for a certified Scrum Master. The PSM is heavily regarded because it's from Ken Schwaber, and they've done a good job of building it. And then the ACP, not a bad one either. So, as far as certifications are concerned, in the world, PMP is still the leader. Okay. All right. So, going into the global landscape of project management just one more time, you got to understand that there are geographical variations. Project management approaches might differ at a very high level globally. There are also cultural values and practices, and these have to be acknowledged. When you go into a new place, they're not going to do things the way they do them in the UK or the US. You also need to understand economic development and technology availability are going to shape adoption and adaptation of project management approaches. In a lot of the Western countries, they've got so much firepower and technology, but that's not the case everywhere else. In some places, even a steady computer with a dedicated internet connection could be a challenge. So let's not take those things for granted. We talk about industries driving project management growth. IT is huge. Of course, with the advent of AI, construction is also big. Construction projects, they will always continue to demand intricate building processes and planning, a lot of heavy front end planning. The healthcare projects, they need structured project management as well. I know a lot of people in the healthcare industry that have gone their PMPs and they are successful because the healthcare industry needs people like that have a structured approach to managing projects in that industry. And manufacturing, in addition to product managers being very prominent in this industry, it also relies on project management for optimization and timely product delivery. So if you have invested, I don't want you to look back and say, oh, why did I get this PMP thing? I shouldn't have gotten it. No, every industry has challenges. The project managers have challenges. We have resource constraints, stakeholder alignment. You have to be a people person. Really, you have to be very deliberate with being a people person because stakeholders could, if you let them, they're going to drive you crazy. They're going to drive you up the wall. But if you come into the project understanding that variety of stakeholders is a spice of life, you have found your niche. It got to a point I would take pleasure in my stakeholders and their diverse palettes and behaviors and mannerisms. Some stakeholders have a palette for certain technology and others don't, and you have to manage all of their interests. It's really a tall order, but it's something you can do. If PMI put that stamp of approval on you, you can do it. You just need to stay in there. Stay in that. It's like the wine press. Some wine is going to come out of those grapes. I promise you. It's tough. You feel squeezed, but something good is going to come out of it. And then remote team management. I've learned that in order to do a good job of remote team management, stop policing the team. Instead, have team charters, social contracts, and principles as a team, and everyone will understand what to do, right? You have to hire adults. Stop hiring babies. That's why you're still babysitting. Find adults, hire adults, and you won't have to babysit. As we just discussed, I talked about the world of certifications, agile and project management certifications, emerging standards and specialized credentials when it comes to scaling, when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to the AI world. Yeah, there's definitely some certifications to be talked about there. Let's talk about the impact of certification on career progression. So, those people who do not have a project management certification, they might be coasting, they might be cruising, but for those who are not at the top of the organization, they will find it hard to get there. You see, because holding certifications signals expertise and builds trust. But let me also give you another caveat. It's one thing to have the certification, it's another thing to go into the interview and to be able to speak to your certification. So the tide is changing. It's not just, oh, he's got a PMP, she's got a PMP, put her in there. No, you're going to work for that job, seriously. And I've heard from a lot of PMs, the competition is so great. There's so many PMPs in the world that there's likely to be one down the road. And true story, some of my Uber drivers, they've whipped out a Rita Mulcahy book to tell me they're studying for the PMP exam. Uber drivers, no joke. And it's happened a lot of times. Even out in Australia, I had an Uber driver tell me, oh, tell me, how can I become a PMP? When I told him why I was out there, I was training at a firm, he said, oh, I want to become one as well. So being a PMP, it just shows that you're committed to the craft. And I just want to encourage anyone that has a PMP, don't be discouraged. Yes, the market might be rough, it might be tough sometimes, but if you're able to speak to what you've got, sky's the limit. The role of the PM is changing though. Like there are many roles that are now more strategic. They expect you to be able to sit in that boardroom and speak leadership and speak strategy. And if you're not able to do that, it could hurt you. It could hurt you. I encourage those of you who are, many of you are on LinkedIn and you've got the membership on LinkedIn to study additional courses. I encourage you, learn about strategy, learn about leadership, understand the world of business because it will help you, right? Understand Porter's forces. Mike Porter has been a speaker at the PMI in the past, and he's got some really great material. But if you don't know Porter's forces, go read up Porter's forces. This is something you, as a business professional, should know. If you are not aware of Robert Cialdini's uh, persuasion laws, you need to read up his stuff as well. These are things that are going to help you in the world of business and influence. And project managers in the world of agile, you got to be a chameleon. You got to be able to shapeshift between hybrid and agile. All right. So these are topics that are hot in our world of project management today. Project managers should be all over software tools. Don't look at software tools as a challenge. I know some people are scared of Jira or scared of Confluence or Asana or ClickUp. These should be your play tools. You should be flexible to use any of them. And I encourage you, go study these things up. They're all over the place. Find them on LinkedIn, find them on Udemy. But whatever you do as a PM, you need to know your tools. You need to have tools in your toolbox. A lot of PMs don't know how to develop a schedule. What? No Gantt chart. These are things that are going to help you in the world of project management. If you can't do these, you're slowly being left behind. AI driven tools, and there's so many of them, but you need to begin digesting AI by picking up a few tools or picking up tools that have always existed that now have AI. Or you be a boss all by yourself and build that thing. I've built scores of AI tools myself. Whether you're using full blown coding or you're using vibe coding, I don't care. Just be able to build a tool that can be purposed for whatever challenge you're going through. And that makes you an even more valuable project manager to your organization. All right. My buddy Daryl, every now and again, you see him pop up, Daryl Mesa, Darrell. He pops up every now and again on LinkedIn, and you see him doing vibe coding. I see a lot of PMs, they don't even know what to do with coding. You need to follow people like that. Look for Daryl. Maybe what he shows on one of these days can help you. The light bulb will come on and you'll be able to build your own stuff. Again, remote project management and global teams, communication strategies. If you're a great communicator, my goodness, it will really pay off for you. And if you're able to coordinate, you're able to see multiple workflows and know how they come together. And if you're culturally sensitive, you are on the right track. All right, let's move to discuss the concept of business thought leadership in project management. Here we're going to talk about influencing emerging practices and future directions of project management. Organizations such as the PMI drive project management forward through a lot of research and thought leadership. What I like about the PMI is they give us certain papers and an understanding of where project management is going. And one of their more recent papers, the Pulse of the Profession, the PMI Pulse of the Profession, which I'm going to go over with you extremely rapidly now, they talk about what is missing in the world of project managers. And what is missing is business acumen. A lot of PMs are great with the tools of project management, but when it comes to business, there's a skill gap, right? We find that PMs do not have as much business acumen as is needed for the profession. And the pulse of the profession shows us that it is critical, right? Business acumen in project success is critical. So First of all, we need to see ourselves as three-pronged project managers. We need to have an understanding of leadership, of business, and of the world of process. And business acumen will enable you as a project management professional to ensure your project supports organizational objectives effectively. When you understand the business, and this is what I tell PMs who are looking to really make a trajectory, upward trajectory in the firm. I tell them it's not enough for you to know your PM stuff. When you go into a firm newly, you must study the firm. You must study the leadership in the firm. You must study the business, the products from the firm, and you must understand what people three, four levels above you are doing. That is how you develop a 360-degree leadership. Understand what's happening up, be able to lead sideways, understand what's going on with your peers, and understand what's going on downward. When you do that, in the words of John Maxwell, you become a 360-degree leader. You lead up by communicating the important things up, by understanding the vision. You communicate down by sharing the vision. And sideways, you become a leader sideways by understanding what your peers finding hard and you coming up with solutions and developing partnerships. But it all starts off with you understanding the fuller scope of the business in a firm. It's not enough now for you to just say, oh, I got a job at this firm. No, you need to understand the business of the firm, right? So business acumen distinguishes high performers who deliver greater value to the organization. I remember I learned this really, really early in my career, like over 2 decades ago. I remember going into a meeting with my boss at Honeywell, and he introduced me and said, Phil, say a few words. And by the time I was done, the directors in the room were saying, wait a minute, how, how long have you been here? how do you how do you know all that stuff? It's intentionality. You got to know the business, you got to know the products, you got to know who knows who. You got to understand the network. That's what makes you powerful as a project manager in a firm. It's not enough for you to get the job, but you got to work the job by understanding the business, right? One topic that we talk about in project management a little bit is strategic thinking. There's a difference between big picture strategic thinking, and that prioritizes long term goals and overall business impact. You may not be a C level executive, but you need to think like one to be successful as a PM these days. Tactical thinking focus, right, is also important, but that is more with the short term execution and immediate project tasks for effective delivery. And then project managers, the hard task, and honestly, trust me when I tell you, project management is not for the faint in heart. But the hard part in project management is for you to be able to bridle the world of the tactical and the world of the strategic. It's like you got to be a chameleon each and every time, being able to see what is important in the near term and what is important in the horizon. You got to understand all that stuff to be effective. So, in the Pulse of the Profession report from the PMI, we see a sensitivity to this. And they ran a survey, right? The 2025 Pulse of the Profession report. It included diverse project professionals worldwide, providing a comprehensive insight on business acumen levels and its importance across regions. A significant skill gap has been found to exist among project professionals. And this section that we're going into is going to talk about proficiency levels. Many project managers had exhibited moderate to low business acumen, which is a little bit alarming, but it's good to know the data rather than be ignorant of it. So a lot of PMs, they don't have enough business acumen and it's limiting their ability. Let me zoom in here for you for a second. Let's get the magnifier. Okay. So many project managers have only moderate or low business understanding, and it impacts project success. Yeah, they know the Gantt charts, but they don't know the business. And some of them are scared of the business. They've got limited business acumen, and it reduces your ability as a PM to impact those strategic decisions effectively. You cannot sit in the boardroom and speak with executives about the business because you don't even understand it. You don't understand the process. You don't understand the company landscape. You don't understand the network. And if they were to leave you with the keys of the company, it will go under the very next day. That's not good. Insufficient business skills add risk to project delivery, they hinder achieving objectives, and it also is a huge risk to company continuity. When people leave, then you're left with a PM or people that do not have the right level of business. And then we have to look outward to get more and more people. And that's not the way to do it, right? The data revealed distinct groups with varying business acumen proficiency, highlighting the need for targeted development programs to elevate the skill levels across the profession. So the data identifies three clear groups based on business acumen: high, moderate, and low. There's a need for targeted programs to improve skills and elevate proficiency across all groups. Let me give you the honest truth. Where a lot of organizations are failing this is they do not have mentoring and coaching programs. They leave it up to the PMs to, well, I guess if you want to find a mentor, well, you know what to do. After all, you're a PMP. Now, if that is the kind of organization you're in, please do this. Two things. One, mentor a junior to get to the level you're at. This is what I did for my PM peers at Honeywell. Not only was I sharing earned value, which I was hired for, ideas with them, I was sharing PM ideas and PMP ideas. And you need to do the same, right? So you be a mentor. And secondly, find a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, the chances of you getting great in this area very low. I have mentors all around me. John Maxwell, my leadership mentor. Dr. Rick Brinkman, my communication consciousness mentor. Roy Schilling, my agile coach and mentor. Without Roy, I wouldn't be anywhere in the world of agile. He's helped me immensely. So if you don't have a mentor in the world of business acumen, I want you to have one. Find an executive or person in the firm. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be an executive. Sometimes it could be a program manager. I remember when I was at American, there was one program manager that he knew everything. Jim Potts. Shout out to Jim. Jim knew everything. He could work on any program or project, whether it was refurbishing aircraft or doing something in IT. He was all over that stuff. I'm like, dude, how do you store this stuff in your head? But he knew where to get what he needed. You see? And you need to have someone, you need to have your own gym in your corner so that such people can mentor, coach, and equip you to be even better in business acumen, because this stuff PMI is showing us is quite alarming. And I've seen this in a lot of firms. The PM is just nose to the grindstone doing grant charts, and the business zero, zero. No one's at home. They got no clue. So we don't want to be like that. And I realized I needed to get good with it. So back in '06, when I joined Honeywell, I made a point of duty. That was like the first place I got the epiphany to study the firm, study the business, know the players, know the product, know the players, know the portfolios, know the programs, know where all the bodies are buried. And the only way to do that in a lot of instances is coaching and mentoring. So, through what PMI have presented to us in the Pulse of the Profession for 2025, we've discovered that insufficient business acumen hampers career progression and reduces organizations' ability to leverage projects for competitive advantage, emphasizing the urgency to close the skills gap. So, PMI is bringing this to our understanding. And in this next section, the PMI quantifies how strong business acumen improves project success rates, how it improves budget and schedule adherence, and supports strategic decision making with broader performance metrics. So, the PMI unearths the fact that projects led by professionals with high business acumen demonstrate significantly higher success rates compared to those with lower proficiency levels. Enhanced business acumen correlates with better control over budgets and timelines, reducing overruns and improving stakeholder satisfaction. because, of course, they're more sensitized to those things. Business acumen enables the PM. Let's go into the detail here. All right. So business acumen enables the PM to incorporate broader metrics such as business value. They're thinking value, they're thinking outcome, they're thinking customer impact, they're thinking elevating project performance beyond the traditional measures. Yeah, schedule, cost, and scope are good, but there's more to the game than that, right? Project managers are transitioning in today's world from tactical executors to strategic partners. And for all my PMs who've gone through my coaching and training and are discovering this new world, I just want to give a round of applause to some of you, because some of you come back to me and say, Phil, I can't believe I'm handling this huge initiative. I'm handling millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, Phil. And I'm like, hello, that's what PMI got you certified for. Why does it surprise you? But those individuals are the ones who play the game of knowing the business. You got to know the business. It should keep you up at night. It should be your waking obsession. I need to know the business. I need to know the company. I need to know how it's run. I need to know the key players. That needs to be your mantra. Broken record mode until you begin to see some traction. Project professionals are increasingly expected to contribute to strategic planning and business growth, requiring a shift in mindset. It's not enough for you to just think tactically anymore. PMI is emphasizing that number one, you need to have financial literacy. You need to understand financial concepts. You need to be able to think strategically. You need to be able to solve problems intentionally. And for that reason, some of you who are meant to be problem solvers and you're having a tough time, you need to read books like DigSiv, DIGCIV, DigSiv. Go to digsiv.com. Some of you are meant to be problem solvers, but your problem solving process is jammed. Maybe digsiv.com can help you. That's a framework for problem solving. It also helps you with strategy and big picture think. I remember being in a gaming company once and I solved a problem for my boss. He is like, how do you do that? Well, that's what happens when you understand the business and you apply what you learned at PMP school, depending on the school you went to. Anyway, you got to have industry knowledge, you got to have financial literacy, you got to be able to strategically think. Successfully aligning project goals with organizational strategy is going to ensure that your projects contribute to overall business success and competitive advantage. So, when we go through all of this content from the PMI, the lesson to be learned is if you are not thinking business, if you are not thinking strategy, if you are not thinking higher levels of accountability as a project manager, you will be left behind. The biggest takeaway from today, my friends, is you got to get good with your business acumen. You got to study strategy, you got to study leadership, you got to study decision making and problem solving to get better and better in what you do. All right. At this point, I would love to answer any questions from the audience. Any questions? I know for some of you it's pretty early and for some of you it's pretty late. But do you have any questions at all about anything project management related or anything I have talked about today? Let's go over to our friends on Instagram and see if we got any chats. Instagram friends, I see all of you there. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions though. So I'm going to assume that there are no questions from Instagram. Um, what about my friends on LinkedIn? Let's see if LinkedIn people have got any questions because I do not see any. Let's see. Checking out LinkedIn. Okay. No LinkedIn questions. Any YouTube questions? None. All right. Well, if you have enjoyed this presentation, go ahead and smash that like button. I know for some of you it's bedtime, so I appreciate you being here. If you are my friends deep down under in Australia, well, good afternoon to you. And if you're in the UK, thanks for waking up so early to watch. If you're in Asia Pacific, EMEA, all those regions, I appreciate you coming on. All right. Feel free to drop a question even after the session, because I know some of you are going to be catching up later. You take care and bye for now.